Okay, now here's the last one, and this one blows me away. I mean, they're all great, but this one's just, do you know what I'm going to say?
Not sure.
Okay, winning a record seventh straight national junior title last year. That is just insane.
Thank you.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much for joining me on today's 10 Before 10 show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. But by the way, it was a great workout on 10 Before 10 this morning, and pretty different to what we're used to, because it was like very much focused on stability and balance.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I remember seeing like a lot of the other diving and gymnasts were doing like handstands and stuff, and I was like, damn, wish I could like do some of that with you guys. But yeah, I guess mine was a lot more focused around balance and lunging and just a lot of fundamentals of squash. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so winding it right back to the beginning, you grew up in Adelaide, I believe, and you were into all sorts of sports as a kid. What were some of those other sports that you were into back then?
I actually grew up in the Clare Valley, so that's like 2 hours away from Adelaide in the country. Um, I grew up playing the likes of like netball, basketball, swimming, running, um,
Everything.
everything, athletics, yeah, and squash, of course. So yeah,
Of course.
pretty lucky to be able to do all of them.
Yeah, cool. And do you still do any of them these days, or it's just strictly squash?
I do a bit of running just for fun, like long distance. And yeah, I love doing other sports. It's just finding the time to fit it in. So I do it like when I'm having a bit more of a break from squash.
Sure. Because I guess apart from the family influence, like what was it about squash that made you choose that sport, or was it just purely because your whole family were into it?
Yeah, I think it was quite all my family were into it, so I was quite involved. But at the time when I got involved, the Clare Valley hosted the Australian Open 3 years in a row, and that was around the time I was like 8 years old and got involved. So I was kind of exposed to quite a high level there, and it was pretty cool. Those types of events are played on an all glass court where you can like view in from every angle, and yeah, that kind of really just was pretty amazing to see. And yeah, I just love all the aspects of the sport. It's got quite a bit of everything, really.
Yeah, I guess I'm a bit curious now. So why would a squash club 2 hours out of a capital city get to host the national championships 3 years in a row? It must be pretty
Yeah,
special, or what?
yeah. Well, we've got in Clare, there's like the Valleys, which is a lifestyle centre, and it's got 3 squash courts, and they're one of the best courts I think I played on. And then yeah, you can set up a portable glass court wherever. So that was set up in the gymnasium, and I guess this Clare Squash Club, we're quite we were quite a community club, and definitely we're just like ready to be able to hold that event, and we're very keen for it. So they were definitely putting their hand up for those years.
There you go. The Clare Valley, the epicenter of squash in Australia. Who would have known?
Well, that was back in like 2007 and 8. So it hasn't been there since. It's been more in like Melbourne and more capital.
Sure. Now, I was going to ask you about what your biggest career highlight has been, but when I was looking into your career, there's been so many. I just thought what we'd do is I could mention a few, and you could just tell me something about each of them, just for something different.
Yeah,
Yeah?
sure.
Okay. Your first national junior title, which was the under 13 title.
Oh yeah, that was in Canberra, and that was my second year at that event representing South Australia. And I can just remember being like that we were in under 13s, and the two that came second and third, the ones that I had to beat to win, they were just like so much taller than me, and I was just like the little tacker just running around and getting the ball back. And I just remember just beating I guess the older kids, I thought, and it was just lots of fun.
Yeah?
I just loved the feeling of it. And yeah, I knew like from winning that one on, like I was pretty determined to win the rest of them in juniors.
That's when you got bitten by the bug, your first big championship.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, here's the next one. Winning Secondary School Athlete of the Year at the SA Sports Awards last year.
Yeah, that was awesome. My school nominated me for that award, and I was nominated for it the year before as well. And so I got to a finalist position there, top 3, but didn't quite get it. So it was good to get it the next year. And that's presented at SA Sports Awards. So it's quite a big black tie event at the Adelaide Oval, and so it was just amazing just to get all dressed up for that, and then to actually win it and yeah, go up on stage. Yeah, it was amazing. I had my parents there, my coach, and an athlete mentor of mine, and then a lot of my.
Would that be James? James, your former coach?
Yeah, James Rogers. He's not my coach anymore, but
Stuart is now,
he
yeah?
is now, since I relocated. I've got, Stuart Boswell, the national coach, is my coach. And Stuart McCulley, he's my elite athlete mentor here in he's based in SA. And then also I went to Henley High School here in Adelaide, and all of those PE teachers and support staff were at the big dinner as well. So it was amazing just having everyone there as I got the award.
Yeah, it's just so great to, you know, out of all the sports, you know, like bang, you're up there number 1.
Yeah.
So next one, getting a bronze medal in the junior mixed world doubles with Zach Alexander. Again, I think that was last year.
Yeah, that was actually a senior event. So that was open world doubles, and we got bronze. Yeah, it was just awesome to be paired with the likes of Zach Alexander, because he actually won gold at the Commonwealth Games for doubles, and me being a junior still and being paired with him, I was like pretty excited for that. So he definitely taught me so much, and being paired with him, I had to rely pretty heavily on him, but I improved a lot during the event as well. So it was just awesome to achieve that. Yeah.
Great experience. And sorry, my mistake. I didn't realize it was a senior tournament. That's even more outstanding.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so good.
Okay, here is the second last one. Bouncing back from an early loss in the World Junior Champs to win the rest of your matches and the plate event.
Yeah, so at World Juniors last year, it was in Malaysia. I guess being the #1 junior female Australian player, people had a lot of high hopes for me, including myself. So there was quite a bit of pressure going into that event, and I think that kind of got to me a bit in the individual part, because I lost in an early match in one of the opening rounds. So that was definitely a big disappointment, and yeah, I kind of struggled with losing that, like just going all that way, and that event's like once a year and stuff. So yeah, that was hard, but I still had the teams event following on from the individuals, and it was, so every second year is the women's junior teams event, and then the other alternative is the men's. So that was my last opportunity to be in the World Junior Women's team, and I was captaining that one as well. So I really wanted to just bounce back for the team and yeah, lead in that way by example and really give it a good crack. And we end up coming top 8 after beating Canada for a top 8 position. A few of us beat girls that were above our seeding, and that's the first time an Australian junior women's team has come top 8 in 15 years, I think it was. So
wow.
Yeah, I guess everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. So I think if I didn't have had that disappointing loss in the individuals, the teams might have not been as significant. It's still significant to me, but I just might not have had as much fire in my belly if that didn't happen. So it was awesome.
Okay, I've got a couple other questions then that follow on from that. So regarding pressure, because I think, did you win your first match and then you lost your second in that tournament?
Yeah. I had a bye first round actually.
Yeah.
So I automatically went through the next round.
So was that? Do you think that was the most amount of pressure you've ever felt in your career to that point? Or what was, if it wasn't?
I think I've had more pressure on myself before, but I haven't actually felt it to that extent, because in general, I feel like I'm pretty good at handling the pressure, because I've been able to like back up quite a few events. But yeah, I'm not sure. It was just maybe got
Just one of
maybe
those things.
yeah, different thing. Like sometimes you have bad days and that side of things. So yeah, I just had a bad day really playing. Just wasn't really working for me, and it was a lot to learn from it though, and being more prepared for when you do have those bad days. And yeah.
Now, something you mentioned to us this morning at the end of our 10 before 10 workout, again, kind of like about prep for competition, about a recent course that you've done, where you create another persona within your head. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because that's also about dealing with pressure. That it sounds like it would help with it.
Yeah, one of Paul Price, he's a mental and performance coach. I've been doing a bit of work with him. He was actually Squash Australia's national coach for a while and got to number 4 in the world for squash. And now he's down this career pathway. So I've been doing a lot of work with him, and he's just launched the Inner Hero program. And yeah, that's just really about developing your own inner hero or alter ego when you go into like different situations in life, and being able to channel them and really like inhabit or just like become them. So like really just being clear on the attributes you want to represent. And we like kind of chose 3 different characters or things that we want to become, type of thing, and like the attributes we like from them, and also visualizing and having triggers in your routines before going into events. And yeah, just really becoming them, because if when you're your inner hero, that's when you're performing your best. And you're not, if you're in that little focus bubble, then you're less likely to be affected by external things, and you're just in the zone. I guess that's what it's trying to create flow and yeah, reach your.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, we've got something in marketing where we talk about brand personas, where we have different target audiences for a brand or a service, and we personify them. You know, we give them, you know, characteristics that we could call them Jogging Jane or you know, and then so it just makes it easier to get that in your mindset to actually market to them, you know, to deal with that audience.
Yeah, becoming who you want to show up as in the different situations.
Sure. And just one other thing I'll say about pressure. I interviewed Lauren Kitchen, who's one of Australia's top road cyclists.
Yeah.
She's over there and doing the European circuits. She said that because she's also a captain or a co-captain in her team, and she finds that it's less pressure because she's, you know, more concerned about the team and the other people, that she's got less time to focus on worrying about what she's up to. Did you find that at all in your captain role?
I think I haven't really thought of it that way, but I think definitely as a captain role, you just want to lead by example. And if you're leading by example, you're usually preparing right and doing the right things. So I think pressure comes from just maybe not feeling prepared and confident in yourself. So yeah, if you're doing all the right things and leading by example, you need to take confidence from that, and yeah, and then you're prepared and ready to go. So I think that kind of maybe goes with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Eliminating pressure.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay, now here's the last one, and this one blows me away. I mean, they're all great, but this one's just. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Not sure.
Okay, winning a record 7th straight national junior title last year. That is just insane.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I guess I mentioned like winning my first one. I kind of like just loved it and wanted to like do it in the coming years. So I think after that one, I set myself that goal of I want to win every year until I turn 19 and have aged out of juniors. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself to have actually achieved that. It's, yeah, it was just, I guess, just having to back up year after year and not taking my foot off the pedal, even though I was like at that #1 position. So yeah, and that kind of comes with handling that pressure because yeah, I had that goal and people were expecting that of me too. So yeah.
No,
So,
great achievement. Okay, I mean, we've just run through a bunch of highs, but you can't get highs without the lows, unfortunately. So I'm guessing there might have been a few in your career, or mind you, by the sounds of it, maybe not many. What has been the lowest low that you've had so far in the career, and how did you bounce back from that?
I think maybe just having enough of squash at a point in time, like just not enjoying it as much anymore. And because I started it from when I was 8 and been pretty much training 6 days a week, twice a day, or not maybe twice a day at the very start, but at least 6 days a week every day since then. And yeah, just probably that, and just trying to find ways to get motivated again and inspired by the sport and really enjoying it again. So I guess maybe thinking about it, I was probably on the brink of burnout, but yeah, just taking a break and allowing yourself to recharge and just doing the things that you do enjoy about the sport really helps with that. And I am happy to say I haven't been in that position for a while again, so that's good. That was just like a small point.
And maybe it helps with the whole COVID situation. You've had another break that you
Yeah.
weren't expecting.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed this COVID break. It obviously wasn't what I was wanting because I just moved to the Gold Coast in February to base myself up there and train and start my senior career, and had to come back to Adelaide for a break. But yeah, I've really just been trying to make the most of it with things outside of squash, and yeah, I've been enjoying it, and I've been able to come back to squash this week and still like get back into it and haven't felt like I'm too far off where I was. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you said, was it this morning you said, you know, the weather had just got good in Queensland, like the day you were leaving, and then bang, you're into the Adelaide cold winter.
Yeah. And I
Okay,
guess the
yep.
other down I had was that loss at the World Juniors, because I had quite a high goal for that one. And yeah, I guess I have had pretty good results in other tournaments and stuff. So that was quite a new experience for me. So yeah, I felt like I handled that pretty well though. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
I'm sure you analysed it and took some positives away from that situation. So
Yeah.
okay. So on a similar note, what do you find is the hardest regular part of being, you know, one of the country's top squash players? Is it the training? Is it the diet? Is it wishing that the ball could just be that little bit bouncier? Because it doesn't bounce much. When I played a bit of squash when I was younger, I was like, gee, this isn't very bouncy, this thing. You've really got to work to hit it.
Yeah, I guess I probably don't have that problem anymore, because it definitely is like when you're starting out, that's definitely an issue. But yeah,
you can tell I wasn't very good.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I think it's probably trying to do what works for me and taking in others' opinions, but not letting that dictate what I do, I guess, like having my own journey. And I'm also quite a like well-rounded person, I'd say. Like, I'm not just a squash player. Like, I like to think of myself as that. So I guess having that title of being #1 squash player, everything, people just know me for squash. And yeah, I'm quite into other things as well. So that's kind of, I feel like, is hard, because I think if I was just hanging out with you normally, you just wouldn't know, I guess, this side of me either. So
Right.
yeah.
So you don't just talk about squash to people that you've just met?
No, not usually.
Unless unless they're interviewing you, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of like shows in my like I got two different like Instagram accounts. So like I got my squash one and then my normal one, which is more like adventures and inspiration, and I just started a podcast as well, which is a bit more like just overall well-being and everything. So
What's the name of the
yeah.
podcast? You may as well give it a plug.
Oh yeah, it's called the Undefined Podcast, and we literally like have just only done one episode, and the next one's like going up tomorrow. So yeah, we've just started out. Me and my best friend have just launched it, and it's all about trying to be your best self and reach your unlimited potential and stuff. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Okay, now just to go off on a complete tangent for a second,
Yeah.
I only just found out in the last 24 hours that squash is not an Olympic sport.
No, it's not.
And not only that, it just lost out. It was going for the 2024 Olympics, and it just lost out to, of all things, not that there's anything wrong with it, breakdancing.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just
there's nothing wrong with it.
In before squash, then there's something wrong with it. No.
I just totally assumed that squash was an Olympic sport. Like
and everyone does. And
yeah.
That's the most annoying part of it, is that everyone assumes it's in there, so that means it should be in there, really.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I actually went to the Youth Olympics in 2018 because they included squash as a showcase sport, like exhibition.
I thought you were going to say, what, as a break dancer?
No. But yeah, they included it in there. That was before they chose the sports for 2024. So we kind of went there and did our thing, and that was just an awesome experience being at like the Youth Olympics. But I guess following that, we thought we had a pretty good chance for the 2024, seeing how well that all went. But yeah, so we're pretty disappointed to hear that it didn't get in after all that. And yeah, hopefully maybe the 2028 is the next one we'll go for. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing.
I actually looked it up on a different site. I thought, this website's got it wrong, you know. Yeah. Now, obviously, you were not going to Tokyo this year. That was a given. So whether it was COVID or not, you know, like, but yeah, you were saying that you've had to move back from the Gold Coast. So how have you found that? Like, you're back in Adelaide, you're away from your training centre, you're away from any training centre, because I guess it's an indoor thing, you can't do it. How have you found this experience? You know, like, what are some of the hurdles you've had to overcome?
I guess I only had moved to the Gold Coast for 6 weeks before having to come back, before the SA borders closed. So it was quite a short time frame when you think about it now, being isolated for like 3 months. But yeah, I guess just having that whole change in that training environment and who I was training with, and having a new coach, only having that for 6 weeks and then having to adapt from it at home and do it more virtually was just a bit to get used to. And then, yeah, it was kind of good in a way knowing that everyone was in the same boat, to help like get through it. But yeah, I guess I definitely started working on the mental side than I have before. So that was really good. And yeah, I really recognized the importance of that, and how it's just, or even more important than the physical side.
Yeah. Really. You hear about sports, not just squash, but, you know, they say that some people have lost the game before they even walk out on the court, you know, because, you know, they've been psyched out.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess working on more the mental side of the game, because I wasn't able to physically get on a court, and yeah, also just doing things outside of the squash. Like before the COVID, I wasn't even planning on doing my own podcast, and then I had all that time, and I was like, yeah, I want to do like my own little side hustle and like with my best friends. So yeah, that was cool. And yeah, doing a few of the courses that AIS provided, including the personal branding one that Think Tank Social did. That was awesome. And yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I remember when the whole thing kicked off with COVID, and one of my first thoughts was, I think there's going to be an explosion of creativity around the world because they're at home, they're not
Yeah.
working, they've got access to technology, and I think we're going to see some great things out of that. So
Yeah, I totally
um,
agree.
speaking of technology, how has technology played an impact in your life since this whole thing started? You mentioned
Um,
some virtual stuff you've been doing.
yeah, so I was doing like 3 sessions a week virtually with my training group on the Gold Coast. So that was really good to still keep accountable with everyone and have a set time and to do it all together. But yeah, just being able to keep in contact with everyone. And I was FaceTiming a lot of friends, even though I was like, I got back home to Adelaide but couldn't really go see anyone. So it was still a while before I actually physically saw them. But yeah, just FaceTiming. And I also found like my screen time went up a lot. So I also tried to get off technology quite a bit by the end of it as well. And that also really helps to like disconnect to reconnect in that way as well.
Disconnect to reconnect. Oh, I think I might have to write that one down. Is it?
Yeah, I
Is that
like
your
that
own or?
thing.
No, that's a good one. And so obviously you've been at home for a number of weeks now. Is it what you would have expected, or has there been some surprises, whether good or bad?
I did not expect any of this at all, but I've been quite happy with how it's all gone and yeah, how I've been able to handle it. And I feel like, yeah, made the most of it, and it's good to be able to start getting back to a bit more normal.
And speaking of normal, does that mean that can you start training back at your local club again, or they're not doing that?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can. Great.
yeah, that started the week just being on the 1st of June, and it's opened up in Queensland as well since the 1st of June. So I'm actually flying back on Thursday.
That was my next question. There you go. You just answered it for me. Great.
Awesome.
Okay. And we touched on a positive, I think, earlier in the conversation. Are there any other positives that you've started a podcast, which is just fantastic. And the great thing about that is, where's your friend based? Is she based in South Australia, or?
She's, South Australia too, Adelaide.
So it doesn't matter where you're based when you're doing a podcast. You can, do it from anywhere. So,
Yeah.
so other positives that you've had?
I think, like you said before, just more creativity, and that probably came through in the podcast, but also just being more creative, like about myself and like what I want to do with my life and stuff. Like, obviously, it's squash is involved, but also like outside of squash and beyond squash as well. So that's been really cool to actually take a step back and think about that instead of always being like go with training and competition.
Well, do you want to elaborate on that? Like, what sort of things are you thinking about?
I guess with all competitions being cancelled and everything, I'm going to be starting uni in July to study psychology, and I was actually going to have a full gap year before doing that, but want to start now with everything being held on pause. But also, so I really want to go down becoming a psychologist road and seeing where that can take me. But also with the personal branding, we through Think Tank Social, we kind of were really exposed to the avenues that can take you as well on social media with, I guess, collaborations with brands and everything like that. Like maybe like I'm quite into traveling and adventure, so being involved with like a travel brand or something while I play squash and travel for that. That's just like an idea, and just being open to those possibilities.
Sounds like a pretty good idea to me.
Yeah, I just never thought of like how that could all work out, but yeah,
Yeah, so that course kind of really opened your eyes to all that sort of thing, did it?
Yeah, I've just been able to kind of see like things link a bit more and try and have things bounce off each other. Yeah.
A few light bulb moments.
Yeah.
And as far as the psychology goes, would it be sports psychology or not necessarily?
Yeah, well, I kind of like thought like if I can't go to the Olympics for squash, like maybe I should go as a sport psych or something.
That's
But
gold. Pardon the pun.
gotta get there somehow.
Yeah, that's
Um,
brilliant.
no, but definitely sports psych is like part of what I'd be interested in doing, but also just general like just the whole subject of psychology really interests me, and I'm kind of excited to see where that will take me with what I do, kind of go to specialize in with that.
Sure. Now, you've only just started your professional career. Can you share some of the goals that you've got over the short, medium, and long term? I'm guessing long term, #1 female player in the world. Is that it?
Yeah, well, it actually was it, but I'm kind of more aiming for to be the best player I can be now, because with everything that I've like opened up the possibilities to be #1 in the world takes a lot of commitment, and I'm willing to put in that commitment, but because I've got other things on the side, I definitely want to be putting commitment into that as well. So I just want to become the best player I squash can be, and if that means that I do am able to come #1, then awesome. But yeah, just getting as high as I can. I usually don't give anything, or I usually like give everything a good crack. So I'm sure just by trying to become the best player I can be, it'll do me well. And also, because we can't make the Olympics, the Com Games is definitely high up on the list for us squash players. And I want to make the 2022 in Birmingham ones, and then also keep representing Australia at World Championship events, because yeah, they're the ones I love the most, is just being with the team and representing our country, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a massive rush in itself. But you just sort of made me think about something else there. There can't be too many sports where they're a Com Games sport, but they're not an Olympic sport. That,
Yeah,
or yeah, I'd never thought of it
not
before.
sure.
Do they have break dancing in the Com Games?
Oh no.
Okay, and obviously you're still very young, but do you have any plans for life? Oh, sorry, I mean, you were talking about the psychology, so yeah, so that's the. Now, if you were going to give 3 pieces of advice to the junior squash players that are just starting out, what would that advice be?
Probably just make sure you're enjoying what you do, and enjoy it in a way that you're doing it for you as well as other people, but make sure you're definitely doing it for you is one of the biggest things. What else? I haven't been asked this question before, really. Yeah, it takes dream big, and just yeah, keep dreaming big for it. But yeah, also know you have to put in the effort. It just takes a lot of hard work, and if you keep putting in that effort, then you will get there. The only way you lose is if you give up. So that's a big one for me. And yeah.
Cool. Well, it's better to have 2 really good ones than just try and fluff a 3rd one. So,
Yeah,
like, for
exactly.
sure.
Quality over quantity.
Absolutely, every time. All right, well, that's all I've got for today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all. And yeah, don't be a stranger. We look forward to keeping in touch, Alex.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Okay, all the best.
Bye.
Cheers.